Hello everyone, this is Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. If you're looking for me, you can find me on Facebook at Revealing Light Tarot. You can find me at my website on revealinglighttarot.com, and you can find me on Patreon under the same name. I want to look at North Korea, Trump's meeting in Hanoi this week, and I want to specifically ask, is he talking to the Russians? Now, as we know, the Russian ambassador is coincidentally in Vietnam this week. Now, I think the broader question around these meetings and what really developed into a circus, the circus that we saw unfold when Trump met Kim in Singapore last year. The military training exercises were cancelled, and the US really didn't receive much in return. As we know, Kim Jong Un's nuclear program, we saw those satellite photos that the installations were still there. Now, the broader question is who is benefiting if the US lifts those sanctions on North Korea? And of course, that would be Russia. If those sanctions are lifted and economic growth is returned to North Korea, then East Russia will benefit, and that's an area that Putin wants to see grow. So I think it was Rachel Maddow told us that in a story that apparently Trump is taking advice from Russia on North Korean diplomatic policy. And the White House hasn't denied that yet. So there's really broader questions surrounding the whole North Korean issue, I guess, and Trump's handling of it. I see, from an observer point of view, I see some sort of, show. It's just a show, and of course at every turn you look and you see that Russia is benefiting. So is Trump acting for Russia in all of this? Is he talking to Russia while he is in Hanoi? We know that the Russian ambassador is coincidentally in Vietnam this week. So that might be our first question. Is Trump talking to Russia while he's in Vietnam? Is Trump talking? I'm just getting really strong yes, and I'm sort of getting somebody laughing as if to say, well, hang on, it's all really obvious here. Okay, so is Trump talking to Russia while he's in Vietnam? Trump talking to Russia while he's in Vietnam. I'm getting that, as we know, Russia's very, very close to Kim Jong Un. They put his father into power. And so it's been this dynastic leadership in North Korea, which actually was established by Russia. So when we look at Kim Jong Un and Trump, you have to put Putin in the mix as well. You have to put Russia. So we've got the sword of truth coming forward. I'll just bring the laptop down so you can see those cards there a little bit better. We've got the sword of truth. Is Trump talking to Russia while he is in North Korea? Now that's an interesting card, because to me that's saying yes, he is. Now, what is the challenge here are the Three of Wands. And to me, he's being challenged by the rest of the world, if you like, particularly South Korea. If we look at South Korea as coming out and saying, really, the US is not getting anything from Kim Jong Un. In other words, this is all a little bit of a farce. Who has a lot to lose in all of this? And of course, it's South Korea. But what's challenging him is as I said, those countries surrounding North Korea, those ones who might be opposed to Russian, I guess, influence and put in that part of the world. That they're actually challenging this whole situation. So I'd watch very carefully what the statements are coming out of the leaders in those kind of countries. Got things happening very quickly. So what this is telling me is that you'll probably get some wild announcements coming through after that meeting in Hanoi, but it's all a little bit preconceived. Okay, because these things are designed to come quickly and to come strongly. And of course, it will be a repeat of Singapore, where lots was announced and what was really given in return. Now, the challenge here is isolation. Okay, so this could very well be North Korea's isolation in relation to that economic growth that I spoke about at the beginning of the reading. So this is in the past. North Korea's isolation is not benefiting Russia. Is Trump talking to Russia? Okay, we've got the emperor really sitting above all of this, potentially the best case scenario, and that is somebody getting their way. Is that Trump or is that Putin? The Queen of Swords is indicating that some sort of honesty, some sort of truth. We've got the sword of truth. Something's actually, I think, might come out in this meeting. That's in the immediate future. We might see a little bit more of who will benefit and why. Yeah. The situation at the moment, we've got the Knight of Swords coming forward, and that is really that is changes, but it's also the card of the free-spirited soldier as well. I think we're going to learn something at this summit. And what I'm feeling here is an overlay of what Cohen's going to say as well in Congress. So it's really going to impact in some way on this summit. I wondered why Trump chose to be out of the country at this particular time. Okay, let's keep going. The environment around it is chaos, the tower, chaos and ruin. I feel that the trip is going to be, as I said, overshadowed by what Cohen's going to be telling in Congress, and there's some kind of truth that's going to come out in relation to Trump's collaboration with other countries that are not necessarily sympathetic to United States interests. So the hopes and the fears, there's something here that they want to actualise, okay? So the hope is that North Korean economy will move forward. I think that's the impression that I'm getting, because it's tying in with the North Korean isolation in the past, which has seen its economy nosedive. Of course, those sanctions have meant that those in the North Koreans themselves are actually almost on the borderline of starvation. So Russia, East Russia, lifting of sanctions in East Russia. Okay, now what will Trump get in return? This is really the question here that's got to be answered. Okay, so there's going to be some sort of victory. Is he talking to Russia? Okay, is he talking to Russia was the question. And we've got the Six of Wands, which is a yes card. It's a victory card, a yes card. Let's see what else we've got. We've got the Knight of Pentacles, so we've got some sort of money action, money news. Okay, so I think what you're going to see at the end of that meeting are those sanctions being lifted, or some of them being lifted, as much as Trump can get away with. But he is actually talking to Russia at this point in time. And what's he talking about? He's talking about the lifting of the sanctions on North Korea and generating the trade between East Russia and North Korea. And also extending, as a result, extending Putin's influence within that area. Remembering, of course, as I said, that Russia put Kim Jong Un's father or family into power originally. So they're very close. North Korean scientists go and study in Russia, for example, in relation to the missiles. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to ask is Kim Jong Un a puppet of Vladimir Putin? Because if you've got to understand that if Trump is talking to Kim Jong Un and what is decided will benefit Russia, then really he's talking to Vladimir Putin, or Vladimir Putin's man, if you like. So let's have a look. Let's do a good shuffle. And let's ask, is Kim Jong Un doing Vladimir Putin's bidding? Kim Jong Un, a Russian puppet, if you like, doing Vladimir Putin's bidding. Kim Jong Un, is he a Russian puppet? A Russian. Is he aligned with Russia? Obviously. Is he taking orders from Vladimir Putin? Is he a strategic link in Vladimir Putin's armour? That's what I'm getting. All right, let's have a look. Oops. Yep, we've got the juggling, Kim Jong-un juggling interests. Who's he serving? This is also the card of manipulation here. There's always a sinister aspect. This card often comes up in relation to some of Trump's actions. What is challenging this manipulation, of course, is the actual abuse of relationships. So Kim Jong-un is walking a fairly tightrope with his own people in staying in power, but also serving the interests of those that he is aligned with, such as Vladimir Putin, potentially. Now we've got the foundation of the reading is loss here. And so what I'm seeing is Kim Jong-un's own people are turning away from him because of the situation regarding the sanctions. So it could be that Trump is also helping to bail out one of Vladimir Putin's puppets in that region by lifting the sanctions and ensuring that he stays in power and that there's not an internal revolt in North Korea. So we've got the relationships here between Kim Jong-un and potentially Russia. This is a mutually beneficial relationship. It's a partnership. Often, if you're talking about romantic situations, this is a marriage. So we can look at the Russian-North Korean relationship as a marriage and a partnership between Russia is not a superpower, but this larger regional power and a country which is actually ailing and potentially cannot even feed its people. So enter the United States and Trump proposing to lift those sanctions. Here we are, Trump is the businessman. I'm going to make a point here. The King of Pentacles is saying that ultimately this situation is benefiting those who are making money from it, or have made money, or stand to make money. The King of Pentacles, who is this? Okay, this is Donald Trump. This is my Donald Trump, the businessman card. So Trump has inserted himself into this reading. We asked, was Kim Jong-un a puppet of Vladimir Putin? The King of Wands here. I'll bring the laptop down. The King of Wands in the immediate future. The King of Wands, of course, is the top dog. Who's this? Who's standing to benefit? Who's ruling the roost, if you like? Vladimir Putin. Okay, we've got the North Korea at the moment, and you can see that this particular harvest is withering a little bit on the vine. And so this again is the dissatisfaction of the North Korean people, of the fact that the sanctions are so hard on North Korea that you've got an economy that is almost like a third world economy that has the potential to be, as Trump says, a world leader, well, not a world leader, but a thriving economy like South Korea. Okay, so again, who would this benefit? If the North Korean economy started to thrive, who would it benefit? East Russia, Vladimir Putin. Who's going to see that it will benefit in lifting those sanctions? Donald Trump, the businessman. Has this been the game, the end game, all along, with the ratcheting up of Kim Jong Un's threats in 2018, through to the Singapore summit, through to now what we're seeing in Vietnam? What I find quite comical is that the perception that North Korea is such a threat, when we have Russian national television and news reports talking about the development of missiles that can be fired at the United States now that the US has pulled out of the INF missile treaty that was Reagan negotiated with Gorbachev. So that has spooked the EU, and they're now looking at developing their missile capability because they know that Russia is ramping up theirs now that they are no longer a party of this treaty. How convenient. Trump pulls out of that treaty. Trump then attempts to lift the North Korean economy through removal of sanctions. And who benefits? Who is the person that benefits? Russia and Vladimir Putin, who incidentally in this reading is coming across as the top dog in all of this. So what have we got? The environment around, we've got the Star of Hope. Now this is interesting because in that previous reading we had Cohen appearing before Congress. The Star of Hope to me is talking about the domestic environment back in the US in relation to Donald Trump, into Donald Trump's actions, into potential motivations for those actions, and into the relationship with Russia. The fact that you have various news outlets like Rachel Maddow and Vox and others, Politico, I think, ran a story. All these outlets are questioning the coziness between Trump and North Korea and the actual motivations. So the things that we're seeing in these cards are actually already in the subconscious of reporters and journalists who are actually putting two and two together and going, hang on a minute, why is the Russian ambassador in Vietnam this week coincidentally? So you're getting the US domestic environment really wising up and starting to question some of these actions. So when Trump went in 2017 and pulled out of all those treaties and rolled back US foreign policy, took a machete to the traditional Western alliances. I've lost count of how many things Trump has pulled the US out of. Because they held the balance of power, because the GOP held the balance of trust, he largely went unchecked throughout 2017 and the first half of 2018. But that has changed now. And so I think that's what the Star of Hope. And as I said, we've got Cohen before Congress while Trump is in Vietnam. These things are almost meant to happen this way. So the hopes and the fears, we've got the Fool, which is new beginnings. There's also a risk too. So I think that we asked, was Kim Jong Un a Russian puppet? Russia's hoping for these new beginnings, but there's also a high level of risk here because we've got this pushback within the US against Donald Trump. Okay, so we've got illusions and delusions. So the relationship between Kim Jong Un and Vladimir Putin, they've gone to great lengths, I guess, to throw a smokescreen over just how close it is. and it's all about this is the merchant, the smug merchant sitting back there. This is those that profiteer from these things. This is around building of material wealth, and it's the wish card as well. Okay, so these are the two outcome cards. We've got the delusion, but we've also got the potential around that is the building of material assets and wealth. So those cards are reasonably straightforward, I think, in relation to the North Korean question. I want to ask another question before we finish this particular reading. I just want to, sometimes I go back to cards that really do signify. So we've got the relationship between Kim Jong Un in the past and Vladimir Putin, almost like a marriage, a partnership. We've got the manipulation, and we've got Trump hanging over this as well. So to me, that's saying possibly he's playing a role. This is according to my tarot cards. He's playing his role in all of this. So let's have a look at the development of Russian missiles since the US Trump pulled the US out of the INF, I think that the INF treaty that Reagan had negotiated, something that kept the arms race in check. Well, there's nothing now in check. Cohen, I'm going back to what Cohen is saying. We might pull on that as well before we leave this reading. Is Vladimir Putin now, post-treaty, INF treaty, is Vladimir Putin now developing those weapons? Is there now a full-blown arms race? Is Russia now engaged in a full-blown arms race post-INF treaty? Russia, full-blown arms race post-INF treaty. Okay, so we've got potentially this card here, which is the Five of Pentacles, and this is a funny card to pull out because it's talking about those that are on the perimeter that have been left out in the cold, so to speak. Those have been excluded. Is this Russia? Because that's the feeling that I've got. And the challenge to this, interestingly enough is loss. Okay, loss, the challenge to really being excluded, poverty. We're looking at poverty. Loss and poverty are two themes coming through this card. The Knight of Cups, okay, so this is almost like proposals coming forward. So from what I'm reading so far, I'll just pull the laptop down. What I'm reading so far is that Russia is somehow trying to redress the balance, and that there are plans on the drawing board at the moment for these missiles. In the past, we have really this is the freedom fighter, this is the soldier of truth. So in the past, we've had this benign action from the leaders to try and limit the development of missiles, of the arms race, trying to stop the arms race. And they were successful. Okay, this is a yes card, the Sun, okay, and it's yes because of the illumination here. This is exactly what Putin wants. Putin wants to develop his military capability. And pulling out of that treaty has, even though the reason for pulling out was Russia had broken the treaty in the past, but really I didn't see anywhere that said that. If there were breaches, then they were probably no worse than what the US were doing. However, it provided an overarching framework, a line in the sand that couldn't be crossed overtly anyway. Well, that's gone now, and this is a full steam ahead card here. The immediate future, we've got prizing open the truth. And I go back to what is going on in the US at the moment. With the Mueller investigation and with the information that's coming out, we know a lot already. And it's not hard to put that together. And so this prizing open the truth will continue until Trump is either forced to step down which is the way my cards see it panning out, or he loses 2020 election, and we'll read on that as well. But either way, the truth is being illuminated on just why the Trump government has taken these decisions, and really why the GOP has let these decisions be taken. And really, that's where the future losses for the GOP will be. There will be a lot of, as I keep saying, there will be a lot of finger pointing and blame because they failed to stop this. Okay, so then we go to the focus of the situation, and we've got the losses here. The arms race, it's a way of Vladimir Putin making up for the losses that Russia's had. The environment around, of course, we've got these motivations which are almost obsessive. Okay, so this is Putin's obsession. Putin's obsession, the old way, the old Soviet Union, Cold Wars, arms races, obsession. Hopes and fears. Putin is hoping that their fortunes will change. That's the wheel of fortune. Retreat. Okay, at the end of the day, Putin will retreat, and I will do a longer read on Putin this week. There's a retreat card in the Four of Swords, and then we've got the Eight of Swords coming out as well, which of course is this enforced restriction on Putin and Russia based on what is actually going to occur as we go on in the Trump government and the eventual downfall of Donald Trump. Now, because Cohen's congressional hearing came through in these readings, and Trump is in Hanoi as Cohen is testifying, and we had one of those Republican congressmen, Getz, actually come forward with a threat. So I'm going to ask, is Cohen likely to deliver a bombshell? And is it likely to be strong enough to influence the majority of the US perception around Donald Trump? I think, okay, let's have a look. After Cohen testifies, are we going to be clearer about Trump potentially acting allegedly in Russian influences? Okay, following Cohen's testimony, are we going to be clearer about Trump's potential motivations to benefit Russian interests? Are we going to be clearer? What do we need to know here about Cohen's testimony, Trump and Russia, because they came through in this reading. Okay, let me just log back in. Sometimes this laptop goes off, so I've just logged back in. Okay, so, all right, so we've got the delusions, okay? So I think Cohen is going to be talking about the smoke screens that what Trump has potentially tried to hide in relation to Russia. Okay, and we might see this obstruction of justice coming forward more clearly following Cohen's testimony. And if that is the case, if we have this obstruction of justice painted out there very clearly for us, then we start to dig a little bit deeper into really the other smoke screens, the other delusion that has been propelled by Trump. The challenge to that is the Ace of Pentacles, which is income streams. Now, when I read on Cohen the other day, there was a thought at the back of my mind, which I don't think I expressed at the time, that I think I expressed it as, has Trump and Giuliano got to Cohen? Has someone got to Cohen here? Now, my thought then, as I was saying that, which I don't think I expressed, was, has Cohen received some money to hold back information? That was my thought at that time. Okay, we've got the Trump organisation here, and of course this presents as the Ten of Pentacles, which is the building of family wealth here, dynastic generations of family wealth. You know, in other words, we've got the Trump Foundation. So we've got the smoke screens that have been put up in relation to the Trump, not Trump Foundation, the Trump organisation. So we could be seeing how the Trump organisation benefits in all of this Russia connection. We asked, will we see more clearly? Queen of Cups. Someone's suggesting this is Ivanka. My thought at the time was it's more likely one of the female judges that would be involved here. But there is an aspect of this card where she is quite, you know, she's got her head bowed, and you know there is or not a sadness, but there is a. I mean, this is not totally nurturing and healing. It's actually supporting someone who's in trouble, and that's in the past. Interesting cards. The Knight of Wands coming forward. I'll just bring down the laptop here. The Knight of Wands coming forward, that's an inspired action is coming over this. I think that Cohen is inspired to share here. And we've got really a crisis of faith coming forward here in the Moon, but also secrets, things that are hidden that need to come to the surface. So this is telling me that even though Cohen may have been got to, if you like, he will be revealing this smokescreen. It has to do with the business end of the Trump organisation, possibly Ivanka's role in things, but we've also got Cohen being inspired to take the action because of not just for the light prison sentence, but because there's a crisis of faith here, and he's made a decision to reveal things. Russia, the proposal, Russia. Yes, we will be clearer. Well, I haven't got to the outcome yet, but we will be clearer, I think, by the time he finishes. Strength, the environment around. This is management of the environment, but also endurance. Okay, so Cohen's got plenty to say. The proposal, endurance. But these cards here, this Ace of Pentacles, what challenged him into revealing what's behind the smoke screen, potentially some sort of money here. And of course we've got the hopes and fears. This is fear itself in that position for what will be revealed. And of course we've got Mother Russia and the abundance, all the growth of Mother Russia. Okay, so we are going to be clearer at the end of the day. We're going to be clearer about the relationship between the Trump organisation and Russia and the business end of those dealings and the building of wealth, mutual wealth, if you like, potentially Russian wealth, but also that which benefited the Trump organisation. We will have those smoke screens. This is a signifier card. Those smoke screens busted, if you like, dispersed. There is potentially, Cohen is potentially acting because he has had a crisis of faith, and there is some sort of inspired action here. So I'm thinking that what he may have been thinking about holding back, he might reveal now. There is some kind of potential connection here with either Ivanka Trump in the past. He may have been given money to hold back that information that might potentially, allegedly, incriminate her. And we've got Moolah hanging over this whole reading. So we've got the Mother Russia card, the restoring the wealth Russia via removing sanctions. And we've got Mueller, the sword of truth, coming through. So really, I think this reading is saying we absolutely will be clearer about the financial aspects of the relationship between the Trump organisation and potentially those that they did dealings with. So I can say that. I think that the Mueller investigation will move through Cohen's testimony as well. It's aiding that testimony. So if you think about what's come forward in those sentencing memos, the Congress has enough information to dig on relation to Russia. And I think that they will do that, and they will dig into how Russia has benefited, not just through the 2016 campaign and election, but how other foreign interests, including Russia, and Russia I'm seeing coming forward strongly here, may have benefited from the relationship with the Trump government. All right, I'm going to leave it there. We've got a lot in this reading, but if we go to Hanoi, my impressions of that particular meeting is it's just a sideshow. It's more of this, and if you dig more closely, you'll see the reasons that the meetings are being held, and one of the prime reasons is to benefit the Russian economy. And we have the GOP really allowing, particularly in the Senate now, allowing all these things to unfold. If you tally up what the GOP has let Trump get through, pulling out of the treaties, as I said, taking a wrecking ball to the Western alliances, destabilising global peace, turning everything upside down, pulling out of Syria, which of course now there's continual pushback on that. I think they're going to leave a certain amount of troops there. It's 400 troops. All of that, we see a rolling back to really, and if we look at who benefits, and I'd like to see a mind map here of some kind of map that links Trump's decisions to how it has benefited Russia. But I really do think that what's hanging over all of this is what Mueller has already contributed to us. That will make a huge difference in Cohen's testimony. So I'm going to leave it there. Have fun as you're watching the North Korean summit. If you want to go there, I won't be doing that. I feel it's a sham. So I'm going to leave it there, viewers. I hope you've enjoyed that. I'll be back again to read for you in the future. Thank you.